Hello you little slugs and welcome to this new, totally not late review of the amazing digital Circus episode 5. I apologize for the lack of content recently, I'll be honest, my motivation wasn't in her best shape. It probably won't get better soon with summer vacation coming, but don't worry, I didn't abandon you. Or at least not yet. Anyway, before we go into it, I just wanted to say thank you for 30,000 subscribers. This is actually hype, I'm not gonna lie. For those who don't know me, you can check out my other reviews on my channel or my very fun commentary on some shows you will not regret. Or maybe you will. You won't know until you try though. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment your thoughts, and now let's get going. So the episode starts with the gang after another nightmare-inducing adventure, and after a talk to Kane, they decide to reuse the suggestion box and to basically do a medley consisting of very wacky adventures like Jax going vegan, President Pomni trying to prevent a terrorism attack, or oh my god, Gooseworks, why would you do that? The fandom is already as weird as it can be, we don't need to add more fuel. And can we please stop talking about Gangle's figurines? I don't need to know what she did with them. Anyway, after Ragatha trauma bombed Jax and a backstory dump from the others, we finally get to the baseball, softball, the game. We learn more about Ragatha's personality, Jax is still being an ass, and dude, what did I say seconds ago? And the fact that you're selling merch and figurines off of it makes the whole thing worse. Anyway, the game still goes, Ragatha apologizes to Jax, Pomni gets closer to him, Ragatha isn't too pleased about this, and the episode ends. This episode might just be one of my favorites so far. Not just because Jax and Ragatha are my favorite characters. Yeah, no, that's it.
You nicknamed my daughter after the Loch Ness Monster!
Little few things I wanted to comment on before the real deal. First off, am I blind or did the animation get way better? It was already very good before, but this one was on another level. The best example of it being Bubble. When Bubble appeared, I was shocked by how clear she was. Almost see-through. She wasn't like that before, right? I'm not tripping.
Where's my tail? How long have I not had my tail?
Oh no, why would you give us this info? I can already see the fandom at work. Okay, but more seriously, I wonder if it's just a joke or if him having a tail missing might mean something for later. What's this something? I don't know, I'm still processing. I also like the detail of Kinger talking clearly to Pomni under the desk because of the darkness, and Zooble and Gangle being closer and plotting together is actually very heartwarming. I love this. Anyway, in this episode we learn a lot of things about the characters and their past. Pomni was apparently doing urban exploration as a hobby and posting them on YouTube, as well as being an accountant, which is pretty interesting because there's no mention of her working at a game company. Actually, when the other asks her how she got there, she starts to talk about her urban exploration, which means one of two things. Either one, the characters don't remember working for the game company that made the circus, or two, the game company's quarters was shut down and is actually abandoned right now. And actually that's what I believe. Same can be said for Zooble, who had the same hobby. And then Ragatha explains that she was a real estate agent. Was she supposed to sell the property and just checked it out to properly evaluate it or something? There's a lot of theory that can be made here. Feel free to comment what you think, I would love to see it. Also, yes, apparently Ragatha came from a wealthy family with an overbearing and abusive parent. Who would have thought? This actually explains a lot about her personality and why she's always trying to be overly nice and mature towards everyone. And that also explains her behavior this episode. Speaking of this,
you can't do what we want to do.
Alright, now for the main course. In my last review about episode 4 that I highly recommend you check it out, I stated that Jax was just a dude that kept lashing out and making trouble because he didn't view this world and situation as real. To put it simply, he just decided to not take anything seriously and to do whatever the hell he wants without having to think of the consequences. And I'm happy about this review video because episode 5 confirmed a lot of my thoughts and suggestions, especially about Jax. In this episode, it's very much stated by Jack that he just doesn't take this situation seriously and just makes trouble because why not? And I'll be honest, I kind of understand his side. Don't get me wrong, he's an ass most of this show and still somewhat is, but if I had to come to this world, then deal with the whole you don't have to eat, drink or sleep, you can't die, and you have to play stupid adventures that will most likely give you trauma and or several weird ass situations that I had to somewhat deal with, I don't think I would take this world seriously anymore too. Every day would just just be another cartoonishly stupid adventure that you can never escape and that you just have to accept is now your new normal for all eternity. And if being a jerk is what can keep me from going crazy, so be it. Okay, but more seriously, this episode was really insightful on Jax's mindset, especially his relationship to Ragatha. Ragatha was really showing her true self this time. It was pretty obvious before that she was trying her hardest to be nice just to be liked. I'm not saying her being nice is just for show, but like Jax said, she's trying way too hard to be positive and kind all of the time, so that she won't be hated and trying to spread that toxic positivity around, bottling up her negative emotions so that no one can see her as a bad person. But no matter what, these emotions can't be hidden forever, leading to her little crash out. Honestly, when you think about it, Jax and Ragatha are just polar opposite, but they do mirror each other in some way. Ragatha is just overly nice and mature, hiding her negative emotions, while Jax is just overly mean and a jerk, hiding his positive emotions. But that also makes him more genuine in a way. He just goes with the flow, even if to the detriment of others, but that doesn't especially mean that he doesn't care, because yes, we now have confirmation this episode that he does care. He just doesn't show it much and try to keep his distance, so if something bad happens, he won't hurt. And with the infos we got this episode, it just makes more sense. When they were stargazing, Ragatha slips up and mentioned that Jax doesn't have friends. Not anymore, meaning he did have at least one in the past until I presume they abstracted. So his behavior isn't just asshole to be an asshole. It's 50% that and 40% trauma response. 10% remaining being why not. But yeah, it is pretty interesting. Another thing that is interesting to note, at one point in the episode during the intermission bit, we see Jax going to a door with the head of a character that was crossed out. We know that abstracted characters have their door picture crossed out, so I imagine that this is supposed to be his old friend that abstracted. Anyway, as I was saying, Ragatha and Jax are polar opposite in the way they are and the way they think, which also explains more why they can't stand each other, and with Pomni's appearance, it just got worse. We do get the feeling that Ragatha was trying to get very close to Pomni, almost in a pushy way. Before I thought that it was because Ragatha saw herself in Pomni, but now I'm not very sure that's the case. I feel like there's something else, but I can't really get my finger on it. Either way, it feels like she's trying as hard as she can to be close friends with Pomni, but unfortunately for her in this episode, it doesn't really go as she would have wanted to. It actually feels like they are drifting apart. At least from Ragatha's perspective. I mean, it's the second time someone warned Pomni about Ragatha's real personality. First time being Gangle, and now Jax. Not saying that she's evil or something, but more so that she's being friendly not to be friendly, but because of some self-gratification or insecurities. And with Pomni getting closer to Jax, Ragatha just keeps getting upset, especially in the baseball game. Pomni giving her the second chance to bat is for Ragatha a second chance to prove herself, to show off in a way. For Jax, it was just another one of Kane's stupid adventure. For Ragatha, it was a competition that she didn't get the chance to properly compete in. Not only that, but Pomni didn't seem to be focused on the game, since she was talking with Jax, leaving Ragatha conflicted. But, and here's the thing, I don't think that's all there is to it. Honestly, I feel like the problem isn't very much that Pomni is getting close to someone other than her, but more about the fact that she's getting closer to Jax. It was very clear that Jax and Ragatha weren't the closest people there is, but I feel like there's more to it than what we're seeing. Clearly, they seem to have some kind of history, some kind of event that very much cemented Ragatha's hate toward Jax, and I think this event might have to do with Jax's old friend. We know nothing about it right now, so I can't really put out the theory, but I feel like this old friend might have been the starting point of some sort of resentment, but I guess we'll have to see. As for Jax, I feel like even if he's an ass most of the time, he's mostly honest about what he feels about others, which also might be why Pomni started to connect with him more, which I thought was pretty endearing, honestly. And if it leads them to become more of a duo in this show, I think I would very much like it. They could be fun, actually. Another thing I wanted to point out, I realized after watching this episode that people started turning on Ragatha and hating her guts because of her lash out and her behavior towards Jax, which I didn't understand. Don't get me wrong, I understand that everyone has their own tastes, and I stand by what I said about Jax. That doesn't erase what he did in the previous episodes. He was still a huge jerk most of the time. I mean, just last episode, Jax put Ragatha in the deep fryer. She had a really reasonable crash out. And to all the people saying, oh my god, look what he did to Jax, they all ganged up on him and humiliated him. That wasn't nice, dude. He threw Pomni out of a moving truck. Is constantly being mean to Gangle and Zubul, pushed Pomni to the scary adventure in episode 3. No wonder they're being mean to him. I would be salty too. And it's not like they put him in limbo or something. And as for his behavior with Gangle, we can interpret it as him trying to teach her to show her true self. Since last episode it was pretty clear that her with her happy mask was not who she truly was, but a facade, and her real her shows when she's wearing her sad mask. Hence also why Jax asks in the episode if she can truly be happy with her happy mask on. But even then, I don't think constantly bullying someone is the best way to tell them to be themselves. No matter how you look at it, you can totally understand the other's actions. Actually, can understand both sides, but tell me how you see it. I want to see everyone plotting. And that's the end of this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and very important, to comment your thoughts and theories. And I'll see you around.